Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our Facebook Live. I'm Julia Marvin, and I'm the marketing manager here at Jefferson Center, and I am so excited to be joined by Emily Olsen. Emily is a licensed wellness clinician here at Jefferson Center, and today we're going to be talking about routines and why they're helpful and how you can create one that you'll stick to. But before we dive in, I wanted to tell you a little bit about Jefferson Center. We've been serving Jefferson County, Clear Creek County, and Gilpin County for over 60 years, and we're a nonprofit, community-focused mental health care and substance use service provider. We offer hope and support to individuals and to families who are struggling with mental health issues and substance use disorders. So, talking a little bit about routines, there's a lot of benefits to your mental and physical health to having a routine. And so I'm excited to talk with you today, Emily, about what a routine would look like and also how you can stick to one. And I know especially with school starting, even though it's virtual, this is the time of year that families start making adjustments to routines to get ready to go back to school. And so it's a topic that's on a lot of people's minds. So to start, Emily, why are routines important for someone's mental health?
Thanks, Julia. I'm excited to be here too. Routines are, if there was ever like one kind of key to managing your mental health, I would say that routines definitely kind of fit into that. And routines are a great way to kind of provide a set of structure to your day that helps manage stress and anxiety, and also various other mental health symptoms. We know that having a set routine that allows you to either, get some fresh air, get some exercise, get some social connection, or get some nutritious food are all great ways to keep your body and your mind in a state of regulation. And I think right now, with the world being the way that it is with COVID-19 and just the state of our nation, routines are more important than ever for providing a sense of stability in our daily lives. We know that the universal triggers for stress are lack of information and like lack of certainty, lack of structure. So when there are these big uncertainties in our lives, a great way to manage the anxiety that causes is to create adaptive, healthy routines for ourselves that help us to either nourish our bodies, kind of give ourselves some emotional or mental nourishment, or to help us to regulate ourselves. So creating routines around waking up or going to sleep.
That's a great point. With this pandemic has been going on since March, and
Right.
it keeps changing, and we don't know when it's
Mhm.
going to end. And so that's a great point that
Mhm.
the uncertainty can really be stressful, and also it's an event that's really out of our control. And so
Right.
routines, it seems like building routines are something that we can control, and like you were saying, build
Mhm.
stability into our lives, even if
Mhm.
there's not a lot of stability around us.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
what are some examples of routines?
Routines can kind of come in all shapes and sizes, I suppose, but we'll start with a few just kind of basic ones, okay? I kind of break it down when we're first talking about routines about in terms of time of day. So, like a wake up routine, like a morning routine, maybe like if there's like a exercise or post work, post school routine, and then nighttime routines. Okay, and so an example of a morning routine would be, waking up with your alarm at your decided time, and then, either getting up, getting some exercise, or taking some time to breathe, writing a gratitude list, things that will be kind of helpful in getting your mind and your body prepared for the day. Maybe having some coffee and reading a few pages of a book that you enjoy, or writing down the top 3 things you need to accomplish that day. Um, and then in terms of a more kind of like after school routine, after work routine, A lot of times when we've been, kind of in activity all day, it can be kind of hard to come back to center in our lives. So, having a routine when, okay, now we're done with our online classes or we're done with our work, I'm going to I'm going to go to the kitchen and cut up some fruits and vegetables. And we're going to have this snack and we're going to talk about our days together. Adding in some social connection between household or family members. And then the nighttime routine, this one is really important because, a lot of us, especially when we're feeling anxious, stressed, sleep becomes a really big issue. Getting to sleep can become a bit of a struggle, not only for ourselves, but if we have children and are in family situations. Bedtime can be a bit of a power struggle at times. Okay. So creating a routine and sticking to it around bedtime is very important. One that creates expectations around, okay, I know that at 8:30, I'm going to have to go sign off my game console, put my phone away, and start winding down, right? Um, and a routine around bedtime that I find to be very helpful is putting the blue light, so the phones, the computers, and TV away at least an hour before you'd like to go to sleep. And from there, perhaps having chamomile tea or, doing some reading, and then, winding down to get to sleep.
Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
great point about the nighttime routines and
Mhm.
the battles, the battles with kids.
Right.
And so,
Right.
have establishing that as a household,
Mhm.
seems like a great way to get everybody on the same page and
Mhm.
to unwind. But also probably a lot of good tips in there for adults too. I know I found myself
Right.
scrolling,
Yeah.
it being like 10 o'clock at night and scrolling through Facebook
Mhm.
before I turn over to go to sleep. So
Mhm. Mhm.
definitely, establishing some healthy habits is important. So,
Right.
and it seems like the routines, like they're kind of helping you, start the day off in a positive way and get in the right mindset. And
Mhm.
then it sounds like afternoon routines can really help you kind of transition,
Mhm.
from one part of your day to the other, and then the night routines, settling in so that you can get a good night's sleep. So
Mhm.
it sounds like they all are really important to your mental health.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, and speaking of that, so what are some of the benefits of getting into a routine?
We can look at the benefits in, I guess, different ways. First of all, having a healthy routine, really helps to manage if you're dealing with any sort of chronic health conditions. Getting into a routine allows you to kind of do the things that are positive or helpful in managing your health on a regular basis, on a consistent basis. And if we're also taking medication to help us manage our physical or mental health, getting in a routine can also help you to be sure that you're taking the medication daily as prescribed. And that is definitely part of a healthy routine in managing our overall well-being. Um, and again, I did mention earlier that routines actually create a sense of kind of stability and safety mentally. So it actually helps us to regulate our anxiety and our stress hormones. They've done studies on this that I don't have the specific name on, but that people's cortisol level, this stress hormone, actually goes down when they're engaged in a healthy routine. Um, and on top of that, I think that routines, I can have kind of a bad rap in a way. Like I've always kind of resisted structure in my life, right? Like, oh, I just want to do nothing. Like I just want to have this unstructured time. But then when I have that unstructured time, it's not helpful for me. I'm not getting anywhere that I want to go. Okay. And I think that having structure can actually help us to accomplish and live more in line with our values, to be more creative, and to just kind of like step closer to our goals each day. Okay. So it really helps us when we're thinking, okay, I want to get more physically active. Having a routine where you do that regularly, whether it's 3 days a week or 5 days a week, or even once a week, right? Helps us to step in that direction. And on that same note, it actually also helps us build our own self-esteem. It helps to build a sense of self-efficacy. When you set a goal for a day, you say, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. You get up the next day and you do it. It's a great way for both adults and kids to build a sense of confidence around your own capability of living the life that you do want to live.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, thinking of it
Mhm.
that way. And you're right. Like when you do it one day, then the next day you have that sense of accomplishment at
Mhm.
the end. And I feel like you're more likely to do it the next day too, because you want to, continue those positive feelings. Um,
Mhm.
and so
Mhm.
you mentioned that, sometimes getting into a routine can be difficult. And so
Mhm.
do you have some tips on how to establish a routine?
Absolutely. So I know in my experience, I'm the type of person who I will map out like I'm gonna change my whole life starting tomorrow, okay? And then tomorrow comes and I think, oh, it's too much. I can't do it, and then I don't do anything. Okay, so I've gotten stuck in that trap many times myself, and in my work with clients, I also see this trend. Wanting to make a whole 180-degree shift in our lives tomorrow. It's always tomorrow. Okay. So my first tip is start today. Do it today. Okay. Let's not worry about tomorrow. Just start today. And the second tip is to start slow. Okay. So, in order to kind of build on this sense of accomplishment, right? Just start with something that is accessible, right? Then okay, I'm like about 80% confident that I could do that for this whole week. And then once you do that for the week, then from there say, okay, so I got up at 9:30 each morning and I wrote a gratitude list. That was great. I actually want to add on to that. I want to go for a walk after I do that as well. And so then just slowly adding on to those. I think that really helps to kind of build a sustainable routine that you're going to be able to stick to.
Mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a really good point about the
Mhm.
like, when you think about it, you're like, oh, I'm gonna like work out I'm gonna run a mile every morning, and then
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna, cook a really healthy breakfast, and then
Yep.
and so like that's hard, and
Mhm.
so that's a great point about starting really small. So it seems like if you wanted to, you like if your goal was to, work out every day. Maybe you start with like 10 minutes, twice a week and then build on
Right.
it from there. So, but that's a
Exactly.
great point about
Yeah.
starting really small. I know that can be hard sometimes because it
Yep.
seems like it's too easy, but
Uh-huh.
also it sounds like that's kind of the point, right? That you want
Right.
to be successful.
Exactly. Exactly. And, I think so often we are in this kind of mode in our culture, right, to be so action and performance driven. And we want to go like 100 miles an hour towards that. But a lot of times that's not sustainable, and it's natural that sometimes like it's hard. There is a lot of resistance to changing your daily structure. That is normal. That doesn't mean that you're never going to be able to do this. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It just means that sometimes it's hard to change what you do, and acknowledging that is a part of changing your routine, dealing with the resistance there, but then
Mhm.
also getting back in touch with your values of why am I doing this, right? Because when things are hard, and it's always not always easy to get up at 6 in the morning and go for a run, right? But to get back in touch with your values of, okay, actually, this helps me function the rest of the day in a way that I enjoy more. This helps me live my life in the way that I hope to live my life, right? And so sometimes, when we are feeling stuck, to just kind of get back in touch with our values behind why we're doing what we're doing is really helpful, and it can help you kind of get back on track. And that's another part of it too. I think that sometimes when we get off track, we kind of get down on ourselves, right? Oh, like I was doing so good. I was getting up early every morning, and then I just slipped off and I just feel bad, right? And it can be really hard to kind of get back in that routine, right? But again, I think it's about starting today, and not pushing it to tomorrow. Just asking yourself, well, what can I do today that's going to help me live in line with my values? And then just starting there.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That was actually going to be my next question. Was I think, it's really easy to, fall out of a routine. It's a lot easier to fall out of one than it is to start one.
I'm really good at it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a great piece of advice of like not worrying about, like, if you haven't done it for if you were really good about it for for a couple of months and then didn't do it for 2 weeks, to not let that stop you, but just to focus on the day and and start again. That's a really great point.
Yeah.
And so I guess kind of along those lines, sometimes routines can feel restrictive. I know you mentioned that that's something that you've worked through in the past. And so how can you make a routine that feels right for you?
So I think that kind of, it really is an individual process, right? And I think that goes back again to starting small and building. I think frequently we want to change our whole lives in a day. And then we, do all this stuff, and by the end of the day we're exhausted and we think, oh my gosh, this isn't sustainable. So I think that there's definitely something to be said to listen to yourself, right? And to perhaps start with about 50 or 60% of what you think you're capable of doing, right? So if you think, well, I can definitely run 5 miles in the morning, that's great. Maybe start with 2 or 3. Maybe just starting with like 50 to 60% of what you think your like full on capability could be. And then if it feels right for you, then maybe working up to that. But I think that, starting small and not being afraid to just start with, okay, this week I'm going to focus on waking up before 9 and writing a gratitude list in the morning. And that is a great start. And then building on from there. And if a routine is feeling too restrictive for you, I think that's also just another time to check back in with your values, right? Why did you create this routine in the first place? Okay, was it really for you, or was it for something maybe that isn't quite in line with what you're wanting, right? Is it more performance based, or more focused on something that isn't actually in line with what you're wanting in your day-to-day life?
That's a great point too, of having it, be creating routines that are for you and not for, other people, or what you think, like what you think that people would expect from you, or something like that, that it really has to be, from within and based on your values. That's a really great point. So we've talked a little bit about, earlier we were talking a little bit about school starting up again, and that, it's time for families to get back into routines.
Yep.
And so how can someone help their kids get into a routine?
So, unfortunately and fortunately, I think that kids learn most not by what you say, but by what you do. And so really, setting an example of, upholding that routine, not only for your kids, but also for yourself, is probably the best way to communicate that this is what we're doing now, right? And if you're able to do it and show your children, right, okay, like, this is a clear picture of, what the routine is, maybe explaining why it is that we're doing this, right? So that your kids know, that's important. And then upholding and sticking to that. And we know that obviously for ourselves, when we first kind of get into a new routine, it can be kind of hard. We can have resistance, and, definitely our kids can have resistance too. But if we stick to it each day, it becomes a little bit easier, and a little bit more natural, and really helps to set kids' expectations for the day and assist them in their own physical and mental regulation. So, being able to get to sleep, being able to get up for school, and being able to manage their stress in this difficult time.
Yeah, that's great. That was all a lot of really great advice, Emily. Thank you so much for sharing all this information today. I know I found it helpful, and there was definitely a few things that I'm going to take away from this myself, and so I'm sure everyone watching found this helpful as well. I do want to say, if you're watching this video after it's over, please feel free to message us here on Facebook if you have any questions, and we'll get back to you. And also just remember that no matter what you're facing in life, like if you're feeling overwhelmed, worried, or stressed, Jefferson Center is here for you. And we are open, we're accepting new clients, and accessing care is easier than ever with virtual appointments. And so you can visit our website at jcmh.org or follow us here on Facebook for more resources and information. And you can also reach us by calling 303-425-0300. So everybody, thank you so much and have a great day.